Yes, sir. It's prediction time for the Auburn versus California game. This is a highly anticipated game. We look at last year where Auburn and California struggled with execution. Auburn, especially with the four turnovers, keeping the game pretty interesting down the stretch. Auburn actually needing a game-winning touchdown from Rivaldo Fairweather in that game, and probably one of the most peculiar games that I'd seen in quite some time. I thought the beginning of the game where Peyton Thorne had clearly fumbled the football, California scores, but the play was prematurely ended. The referee thought that Peyton Thorne was out. It was just a lot of craziness going on. You look at the time differential where Auburn, had to go out to California, a late night game, and definitely a thing to behold. All right, go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. Down in Deep South, college football is king, and on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. There is a nice list of games that you want to watch this particular weekend. You got Arkansas versus OK State. Now, here's my thing, and this is personal for me with Arkansas. I want to see if Arkansas is good as the arrogance that they showed against Arkansas Pine Bluff in that victory where the running back is waving to the cheerleaders. And I really hope that Arkansas figures out a way to win this game. I just think their display was a little on the arrogant side against deflated Arkansas Pine Bluff team that it hasn't been, hasn't really played really well in the SWAC conference. And you kind of exploit them 70 to no, I can't remember what the score was, but I just there was something about that game that rubbed me kind of the wrong way, or maybe I'm just kind of looking at it into it too much. South Carolina versus Kentucky. We're going to see what Kentucky has. Kentucky is considered to be a middle tier team in the SEC, one of the top middle tier teams in the SEC that could give some of the contenders a little trouble. And you got South Florida against Alabama. South Florida challenged Alabama last year, especially with the new onboarding quarterback Jalen Milroe. I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup there. I think Tennessee versus North Carolina State is going to be an interesting one as well. We're going to see what Tennessee has and, just go from there. And you also have, obviously, on the docket for Vernon Speak Sports Auburn, you got Auburn versus California. Now, Auburn fans, I know there was a lot of clamoring as to the reemergence of the Auburn Tigers. Auburn put up 73 points against Alabama A&M in 13 minutes. I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. You really can't do that against many teams, but they were able to execute that against Alabama A&M. Traditionally, Alabama A&M is an okay team in the SWAC. Probably not one of the elite as they kind of sort of have been from time to time. But Alabama A&M personnel-wise just didn't have a chance against Auburn. Now, I think Auburn fans need to be really careful in their synopsis of this Auburn versus California game because you look at Auburn thrashed Alabama A&M. Meanwhile, California at home up against University of California Davis needed to pull away 31-13 against a FCS team nonetheless. But what folks got to understand is that from what I saw in the UC Davis team, that this is not a typical FCS opponent. And they kind of came in this thing with a chip on their shoulders because similar to the Alabama University system where you have University of Alabama at the top, that's the main deal, University of Alabama Tuscaloosa on paper. and then you have UAH, University of Alabama Huntsville, then you have University of Alabama Birmingham. This game for UC Davis and University of California Berkeley, who Auburn is going to be taking on, is similar to Alabama taking on UAB. And if you notice, from my recollection, Alabama has never taken on UAB. Maybe in basketball, but definitely not in football. Now, here's some housekeeping stuff. Auburn has a long list of prospects that will be on the plains this weekend. Most notably, Deuce Knight. Deuce Knight has quarterback out of Mississippi has committed to Notre Dame. Now there is some nervous action in Notre Dame regarding this because I mean, for all intents and purposes, they feel like he's going to flip to Auburn. Deuce Knight will be taking it I don't want to say it's unprecedented, but I don't see it a lot to where a prospect takes a visit to a team 2 consecutive weeks. He came for the Alabama A&M game. He's also going to be attending for the well, no, I'm sorry. He came for the Alabama A&M game against Auburn, and he's now going to attend the Auburn versus California game this week. And the crazy part about this is the fact that, you know, Notre Dame has a game at home as well against Northern Illinois. But if I'm a recruit, I mean, just from an entertainment standpoint, it's going to be a snooze fest in Notre Dame this particular weekend when, Notre Dame takes on Northern Illinois. But man, the fireworks and the timing is going to be electric in Auburn. Auburn is welcoming a Power 5 football team, an ACC football team, a California team that is going to have to be accustomed to making the trips out to the East Coast. Auburn is not their furthest destination. They're going to have to push that thing even further east and further south as they compete in the SEC. So this is going to be a litmus test for California as they're going to have to deal with the travels and, will their fans be engaged in these types of football games. Now back to the game. Cal took on UC Davis, which is part of the California system that we talked about before. It comprises of 10 schools, and University of Cal Berkeley is one of them, and UC Davis was one of them as well. Similarly, Alabama, University of Alabama has the same situation. Not as many schools, but nonetheless the same thing. So I think there was a lot of intensity there with UC Davis to really try to compete, and they did a good job. They did a good job of putting pressure on the University of California. And I think, when we look at advantages in this football game, I'm compelled to believe that from an adversity standpoint and a team that has been somewhat battle tested and had to, face some situational adversities, I think California has the advantage here. You have Auburn that everything went right in week 1. Everything. Every time they threw the ball, touchdown basically. Every time they ran the ball, positive yards. There was never a sense of urgency for Auburn to, convert third down or, hey, if we don't make this stop, there's going to be some problems. California has endured all that, and I think that gives them advantage, especially with a team that is relatively talented. I think the rosters, although I think Auburn has an edge from a depth standpoint, and probably if you look at this from a talent standpoint, has an edge, you can't discount the battle testedness of California at this point. And I think that gives California a huge level of advantage over Auburn. And, you really look at, the film review on California. You look at the fact that I think University of California Davis was a much more formidable opponent than Alabama A&M. I think they played physical. I think they played well. I think they played with confidence. They were able to move the ball. They actually outgained California. So this is a game to where I think Auburn really needs to be careful. Now, as we switch over to the Auburn side of the football field, they had some positives, especially with Jeremiah Wright at the offensive line on his position. They're moving some things around there to try to find some solidarity. I think Auburn really played physical up front. They did a great job of protecting the quarterback. But what I want to see in this game is how well will Auburn handle the adversity, because it's coming. You have a Power 5 football team in California that now competes in the ACC, formerly in the Pac-12. They gave Auburn trouble, especially on the defensive side of the football field. And defensive coordinator, they have been known to create turnovers, create multiple looks for the offense that has caused some confusion. As a matter of fact, Peyton Thorne fell for that confusion last year, albeit without the talented receivers that he has now. But there are going to be some times in this football game, and I want to give you a scenario. Now, a lot of Auburn fans are coming into this game casual, thinking that Auburn's going to score every time. Absolutely, score every time they touch the football. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, if I was Auburn, I would actually give the ball to California first, because I can foresee first drive for Auburn. I could see it being a 3 and out. I could see California figuring out a way to lock down these talented cornerbacks. I mean, these talented wide receivers, and really putting a lot of pressure, because there was no pressure week 1 for these Auburn wide receivers. It was all fun and games week 1. I don't even know if an Auburn wide receiver was legitimately tackled. You know, they need these Auburn wide receivers, and the Auburn offense needs to see some adversity. And I think they will early on. And it's going to be really crucial for the offensive coordinator, Derek Nix, to hound in on the fact that let these guys know this is not going to be as simple as it was week 1 against Alabama A&M. All right, guys. I think Auburn has done a great job with the transfer portal. Adding some guys on the defense, definitely stout, as far as depth on the defensive side of the football field. I think California is going to pose some challenges, because they're going to go with a 2 quarterback system. One drop back passer, number 15. He's more of a traditional pro style quarterback. And number 7 gives you a more, dual threat look. So that's something that's going to be key for Auburn to hone in on. Auburn's second home game is going to be a whiteout in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And as I look at this game, it's not going to be, I've seen some predictions out there that I think are, a little on the outlandish side, when they're talking about, 56-3 and, crazy numbers like that based on Auburn overmatching Alabama A&M. Now, I think this is a situation where Auburn doesn't cover the 12.5 spread that, because it's a situation where Auburn is favored to win 12.5. I don't think Auburn will do it. I think Auburn will be just under that. So if you're a betting guy, not only do you want to pick Auburn, Auburn is not going to cover the spread. So you want to pick under 12.5, and you also want to pick under the 52 or 53 that is going to be predicated to this game. They got all, the total teams combined are projected to score over 52 points. I don't think that will happen. This will be a game to where, it will be under 50 points scored. And as a matter of fact, the point differential, in my opinion, will be about 45 or 46. So if you're a betting guy, you're going to be really skewing that line. You're going to be cutting it really close. Unless Auburn can show me that they're able to. There were some things that happened early in that game against Alabama A&M that wouldn't transfer well over to a game like this. But I think Auburn will still win by double digits, but they won't go over 52 points and they won't win by more than 12. So, with that in mind, it's prediction time. I usually do this on Thursdays, but man, yesterday was so busy. I just couldn't get around to do it. And I wanted to make sure that I did it in an educated fashion, in a valuable fashion, to break down all the ins and outs of the ball game. I like Auburn though. I like Auburn to win this game. They're at home. They're playing against a opponent that has done very well in the transfer portal, a team that is, very opportunistic. I will say that, from a bold prediction, and y'all are going to get mad at Peyton Thorne because he is going to throw a pick and he's going to throw an interception at a very crucial time of the ball game. As a matter of fact, it's probably going to be a scenario, say mid second quarter, Auburn is up 10-7. Y'all are getting nervous because Auburn is not blowing California out. And the defense for California is going to make a very opportunistic play. But just to throw that in there, I want you all to get into your minds that this is not going to be a blowout football game. This is going to be a head-to-head battle to where, I think California is going to rise to the occasion, and I think they're going to play very, very well. But with all of that in mind, Auburn does not cover on a 12. They won't win by more than 12 points. It's just not happening. Also, the point differential is not going to be the point differential is going to be less than 52 points. So with that in mind, here's my prediction. Auburn wins this football game 28-17 in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I'm looking forward to a very good football game. It's a whiteout, so wear your white stuff, wear your white shirt, wear your white, well, you might not be able to wear a white hoodie because it's going to be a little warm on the plains. This is my time here. My name is Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn, to where I give you realistic viewpoints of Auburn football. Down in Deep South, college football is king, and on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Damn Eagle.